Graveyard Point is in the Kvichak district of Bristol Bay. It's home to the world's largest sockeye salmon run. Together with my cousins, my brothers, and my family, we're catching wild sockeye salmon. And my family's done it for many generations. My grandfather began fishing here in Bristol Bay in the late 1940s, and then he taught his children to fish, and in turn, his children taught us, and we're hoping to teach our little rascals to start fishing too.
The place that we live and fish now is an inactive cannery that hasn't been used since the late 50s, early 60s. But during the time when my grandparents started fishing, and even when my parents were initially fishing, the cannery was active, and so we fished here as a family and sold fish here, but then the canneries kind of consolidated, so it left some of these canneries that were more on the fringes abandoned and more or less useless over the last 50 years. But every summer, fishermen like our family make use of the buildings and kind of patch them together and fix them back up so that we have something better than living in a tent or living on a boat.
So it's been decaying for, kind of without any upkeep other than us, ragtag group of dedicated squatters. Other than our, we try to keep up as we can on things that are dangerous and boardwalks and stuff like that, but it hasn't really been taken care of for maybe 40 years.
So now all it is a summer fish camp. And you can see the remains of the cannery with old buildings and some new buildings, and the basis of it is the proximity to good salmon fishing for set netters and some drifters. So there's a little community associated with Graveyard.
Because fishing really gets in your blood and becomes a part of who you are, I think people stay on for a long time. So in this particular community, there are a lot of familiar faces that have been here for decades.
Kvichak Set Netter Association annual meeting. I want to thank everybody for being here today.
Over 100, 120 people that are staying here at this specific spot. So there's nowhere else like Graveyard Point. It's hard to explain to people when you go home because, it's like nowhere else. Where can you live in a ghost town?
Where else do you go and just sort of squat in a abandoned building and then make it your little home for the summer?
You go to other parts of the state or other parts of the country, and there's nothing quite like it, I don't think.
It's quite the experience. Back home I try and tell everybody, what it's like, and I know it don't give it justice, all my pictures, and I know it just don't come across the way it really is.
It's like family tradition. It's history. My grandma was in this house over 70 years ago, and it's still standing. And now I'm living in it, and my daughters and grandchildren, so that's something special right there to me.
More and more, Graveyard is getting attrited away by the rise of the oceans and rise of the sea level and those storms that are pounding away.
Our front yard just kept getting smaller and smaller every year when we would come back, and it would have just eroded during the winter, and then one year, we'd move things, huge 2-story cabins, we'd move them on skids with come-alongs and grease, and then one year we left and came back. Actually, I think Lyle flew over and told us that they had all gone into the sea.
There was a nice long boardwalk here. It's just things over time. Even the buildings that they had to be were shinier silver, and they're just getting more tired every year. And it's still called home,
It's so beautiful for us. It isn't really a very beautiful place, but to be the time together, fishing, and the time in the water, and the smell of our weird little fish, and the squeach and belch of the yucky mud and everything like that, like you sort of develop a relationship with it. We love it. I love being here. We're a family business as a group of fishermen, and have been. My grandfather formed a family corporation years ago, But then about 10 years ago, my cousins and I, the youngest generation, we started a little business to become a fish selling corporation. We've always caught fish as a family and worked together as a family business, but this new little business that we started, the idea was to extend our fishing into the rest of the year.
We came up with the idea of doing a kind of a CSF or based on the CSA model of having members who make a pledge to purchase your harvest before you go out and harvest it. And that really helped us because we knew then we were actually going fishing with a specific directive to catch fish and bring them home for committed customers so that you're not completely dependent on the fish price and the fish volume.
Fishing goes through dramatic cycles, and so you'll have several down years where you only catch 20 or 30,000 pounds, which can be really hard on a family. But if you can take 10% or 20% of your catch and do direct marketing, it can help even out some of those big cycles, and it allows fishing to be more of a way of life that is steady.
To come back to this place every summer, we not only copy the salmon, who also are coming back to this place every summer, but we kind of tie ourselves to all parts of our family and our family history. So the family part is kind of hard to overstate.
Bristol Bay's fishing economy has been built around families like ours, and they're scattered throughout the bay.